Hey, what's going on? It's your boy PT, and I came here to talk some boxing with the thousands of True School Sports subscribers. Now, word to my brethren all across the USA, I'm a little under the weather, guys. I'm in New York City still, by the way, after the Wilder Stiverne fight and the Granados Porter fight. This is the video review for the whole card, not just the main events, but I'm a little under the weather, so just bear with me through the video. It's going to be a quite long video as far as reviewing the card, because I'm going to go through the main events and some of the untelevised fights as well. So we'll start with the big fights. Obviously the one that I was the most excited for, Shawn Porter versus Adrian Granados. That ends in a unanimous decision victory for Shawn Porter over Adrian Granados. He becomes the first fighter to ever beat Adrian Granados via unanimous decision, because all of his other 5 losses are either via majority, a split decision, majority split decision. So he did something that no other fighter has done, that a lot of the other good fighters I fought Adrian couldn't do. So you got to give Shawn some credit for that. I thought Shawn was the favorite in this fight, and I knew, even though I was talking about like Adrian beating Shawn, and I wanted him to because he's my friend, I knew that he was really up against it, and he was really had to fight the fight of his life to beat Shawn Porter. And that's not what he did. And honestly, like, look, I know Adrian's my friend, and I still do believe that at 28 years old, with all the experience he's got, if he goes back down to 140, he'll be a world champion next year. No doubts about it. I think Adrian will be a world champion next year. But as far as right now, in this fight, I think if you look at everything Adrian did wrong in the Broner fight, which is a fight that I do think he still won, like as far as dropping his hands, getting hit on purpose, fighting in the ring with a little bit too much heart over intelligence, it worked against him a lot. And I think, he brought a lot of good entertainment value. Like early on in the fight, he played really well to the New York City crowd, being that it was his first fight on the New York City stage. But he was losing a lot of rounds, and he never really got himself into the fight, in my opinion. Now, I have to go back and rewatch it, but I can really only give Adrian no more than 3 rounds at most, because Shawn, I thought for the most part, controlled the fight, out-jabbed Adrian, out-boxed Adrian, dictated the pace, was able to drive Adrian into the ropes and do what he could with them. Even when Adrian would land on the ropes, he was still smothering his shots because Porter was so close, cut the distance so much. So it was a fight for me where, yeah, I knew Adrian was up against it, and I expected more of him. I thought he would deliver a better performance. But ultimately, the unfortunate reality is that in this fight, not only was Porter the better man, but for Adrian, I think he lost his composure under the biggest stage of his career, in the ring. He started just like you guys saw the fight. You guys saw the antics when he dropped his hands, let Porter hit him. He did this when he lost one of the rounds. I do think he's still gonna be a world champion, but he had to fight better against Porter, and I just think like it was. I think this year for Adrian overall, but the Broner fight and the Porter fight, even though they both wound up as losses on his record, it was good for him because it got him out there on that big stage, and he shouldn't be moving forward any more flustered than he was his last fight. Porter, although he was the favorite to win and the naturally stronger man than Adrian, he still, in my opinion, it was a test for him, because it was a test of his patience, because Adrian is not an easy guy to look good against. And I thought, despite his history where guys don't look good against Adrian, Shawn looked good for me. Now I know a lot of people were saying he ran a lot, more than he usually does. I don't think that. I thought that Porter used this fight against a guy that he was more talented than, that he was faster than, that he had a better skill set against. I think he used this fight to work on his boxing, and he hit Adrian with everything but the kitchen sink. But like pretty much every other Adrian Granados opponent, he was unable to get him out of there, and that's a testament to the toughness of Adrian. And I know he did break his arm in like the 9th or 10th round, so it was a fight for Porter where, yeah, it wasn't the opponent everybody wanted to see for him, but it was still a worthy opponent, a guy that, if you're not on your P's and Q's, could beat you on the night. And I thought Porter put in a good performance. I thought he jabbed pretty well. I thought he did a good job turning on the inside and creating new angles for himself, and just imposing himself on Adrian Granados. And for Adrian Granados, man, like, just speaking to him as a friend because he might watch this video, man. Like Adrian, like you're in a position where you don't have the nice record, you don't have the political influence to dictate terms, but you need to go to 140. All right, stay at 140. I mean, 147. Maybe in the future, if you can get some good momentum going at 140, snatch up some titles, maybe become unified champion, build your name up more. Maybe like two years down the line, you go to 140. But for now, man, like you gotta go to 140. It's a division that's really thinned out. Now with Crawford not there, you got Miramar on the shelf, and you got 3 belts now vacant. Lipinets holds the other one. You can go there and become a world champion, and that's gonna help you out, and that's gonna help his career out, and that's gonna help just move forward and put yourself in a better position. So if I was listen, I know I'm just a small-time boxing reporter, but if I was Adrian's like advisor or manager, I would not have him fighting at 147. But I do know for a fact that he will get a call, or at least I don't say I know for a fact, but I do feel that he will get a call from Al Heyman and the people at PBC. Whenever they want to make another fight happen, I feel like they're going to try to use him as an opponent for a Keith Thurman, as an opponent for Danny Garcia, as an opponent for one of their top welterweights. And could he still go out there and upset the odds? Yeah, I don't put it past him. I think he'd actually probably have a better chance against like a Danny Garcia than a Shawn Porter. But as far as going back to 147 right now in a year's time, no, I think next year he needs to go back down to 140 because of the reasons I suggested earlier. He's a stronger fighter there. He's a better fighter there. I know he's a more confident fighter there too, just from knowing him. I know him to be a more confident guy when he's at that weight. And credit to Shawn Porter, fair play. I was backing my boy, and it kind of sucked to really get Shawn Porter too because I like him so much. But he went in there and he showed that he was clearly the better man that night. And Adrian's gotta go back to the drawing board and understand that hey, at 147, especially for PBC guys, a lot of them they were better amateurs than Adrian. They've had more experience on the big stage in the pros than Adrian, so he's already up against it in that regard. And on top of that, even if he does everything right and wins, he can still lose because he's not the more politically connected fighter. So he needs to go back down to 140, snatch up some easy titles, and build some momentum down there. And then later on down the line, if you want to go back to 147 and fight a big fight, a year or two down the line, go ahead, but not for the foreseeable future. So that was the fight that I was most excited for. Didn't get the result I wanted, but still enjoyed the fight nonetheless. Shout out to Shawn Porter, and much love to Adrian Granados as well. But then we had the main event, Deontay Wilder, Stiverne. This is a fight where, and I'm gonna make a video later about Deontay Wilder, and you guys might be shocked at what I have to say about Deontay Wilder, but this is a fight where I literally had no expectations. I thought it was just gonna be just Wilder would stop him in the 4th and 5th round, and it'd be whatever. But ironically, this fight, for me at least, I enjoyed it. I really did enjoy it. I can look at it in its proper context. Like, Stiverne was a old heavyweight coming off a 2-year layoff. His last fight, almost 2 years layoff. Last fight was against Derek Rossi. Got knocked out in that fight, struggled. But that being said, he came into the Wilder fight. I thought, look, Bermain has always shown himself to be a durable guy. I could see him in there at least 4 or 5, maybe 6 rounds of Wilder. And by that time, if he gets warmed up and maybe gets some confidence, we might have a decent fight. Maybe it'll exceed expectations. And that's not what I got. Wilder went in there, man. All the anger he had from all these things that happened to him, the Povetkin thing, the Ortiz thing, the Warzik thing. He took it all there, and fair play to him. He took it all in there to the ring with him that night, and he dominated Stiverne. He embarrassed Stiverne. He outclassed Stiverne, and I know, like I said, I know it was Stiverne coming off a 2-year layoff, but I thought if you want to compare this fight, even though it was 1 round, if you want to compare this fight to the first Stiverne Wilder fight, I thought he did a much better job keeping Stiverne at distance. I think Wilder is starting to get better at that, like keeping guys at distance. Even his footwork maybe was a little better in this fight. I mean, granted, Stiverne was a punching bag, so for this fight, he's a punching bag, so take that for what it's worth. But I thought, he was pivoting nicely. I thought he was keeping him at bay really, really well. I thought his punch selection, his punch variation was very, very good. In my personal opinion, I thought this was the best Deontay Wilder we've ever seen, and that's how I feel. You know, he went in there and he had a job to do, and you know, he did it. He made a statement, and he called out Anthony Joshua. You know, that's a fight that could be on tap for next year. I don't see it happening right away, but I do think it'll happen late in 2018, just because there's so much money there and it makes too much sense. So, do I want to see the fight? More than ever right now, because I think, you know, Wilder, for all his deficiencies, and I've kind of learned this a while ago. I kind of just, you know, I'm trying to stop hating, like when there's fighters I don't like for whatever reason, whether it be in the ring reason or out of the ring reason, I'm trying to stop hating on them because it does cloud my judgment. So I'm doing that with Wilder, and I will say this about him. I think he does have a realistic chance to beat Anthony Joshua. I still favor Joshua, but I'm not favoring him as comfortably as maybe a year ago, just because I think Wilder has gotten better. I think Wilder knows who he is more as a fighter. I think Wilder, all the irrational crap that all this stuff sounds irrational to myself and a lot of other boxing fans, you know, he really believes that. He really believes he's the best heavyweight in the world. He really believes that he's the most feared. He believes these things, and I mean, regardless of how talented or untalented you think Deontay Wilder is, belief can get you can get you very far in the sport. And, you know, just speaking as someone who's been to only a handful of fights, maybe 6-7 fights that I've been to as a media member, or as a fan, really. Wilder, I mean, I don't think I've really ever seen a crowd, and albeit it was not a huge crowd at the Barclays, it was a good crowd considering the circumstances, but they had sectioned off about 80% of the upper deck. I know you guys can't see that on TV, but 80% of the upper deck, maybe 90% of the upper deck was sectioned off. They had a big black curtain around it, so the arena wouldn't look as empty. But Wilder, the way he electrified the crowd that night, a couple nights ago at the Barclays in Brooklyn, I really haven't seen anything like that. You know, he came out 50 Cent. He was very confident. You know, I have my boy Shawn with me. He's not really a boxing guy like that. Never really knew anything about the current heavyweight division. This is his first like boxing match, and he was electrified. He's a Wilder fan, and you know, I take value in that when you can go to a fight with somebody who's not really a boxing guy, doesn't know much about the sport currently, and they can watch a guy and they can be entertained and electrified by said fighter. You know, that's how you create fans. That's how you build the sport. That's how you move forward. And I thought Wilder did a great job of not just being entertaining, coming to the ring with 50 Cent, with the mask, but I thought he focused, he did his job in the ring, he outclassed a clearly worse version of Stiverne in this fight, and I think he's got a good shot against Joshua, man. I really do. Joshua, to me, like I've said in the video with you guys, you know, with him fighting at higher weights, you know, for Joshua to beat Wilder, he cannot fight at 254. He has to go down. He has to go a little bit down in weight, so it can be a little bit lighter, less stiffer. Because if he is that weight against Wilder, and he's the same stiff guy who was susceptible to catching shots from Carlos Taco, he'll catch them against Wilder, no doubts about it. And if Wilder can catch him, Wilder has that type of power that will get Anthony Joshua out of there. So that fight's that fight as time goes by, and I think that's why Eddie Hearn and Lou DiBella as well, and now they should let this fight marinate. I'm usually against marinating fights, but this one should marinate, so both Wilder and Joshua can build their profile up in the opposing fighter's country, and that the fact that crap, I lost my train of thought. That like the longer this goes on, like the longer Wilder looks good and the better he looks, the more people want to see it. I'm getting hyped just talking about it right now. So I thought Wilder had a great performance. I thought Stiverne, you know, it's the end of his career. He talked a lot at the press conference, but you know, when you watched him in the ring walk, when I watched him in the ring walk, to me, he looked like a dead man. He looked like somebody that knew what the outcome was going to be. And if this is the end of his career, man, you know, Stiverne's legacy will simply be just that of a guy who held a title. You know, he won it vacantly from another guy, Chris Ariel, who wasn't very highly regarded. And then once he stepped up and fought what was deemed to be a greater challenge. He could never quite rise up to that challenge. So unfortunately, I like Stiverne. I've spent time with him, but you know, people's legacy, objective legacy of him is going to be that he was never really a true champion. Never made one title defense. Never really beat a B-level fighter. And that's just what it is, man. So you know, I don't know what's next for Stiverne. Don King had him on the shelf for like a couple years. He was in that mandatory spot. Got this fight, was not prepared for it, and got outclassed. So that was that fight. I was excited. You know, Wilder to me, you know, anything bad I've said about him, honestly, like this week with this fight, seeing how the crowd played to him, seeing how a casual boxing fan, and my friend Shawn, you know, kind of enjoyed Deontay Wilder. You know, I'm always gonna be in favor of guys who can help the sport build, and I think Wilder does have some good qualities to him that could help build boxing here in America. I think it's just like, because the funny thing is, if you guys go back and watch my videos of Wilder back in 2015 when he beat Stiverne for the title, and I was making videos and I had like 100 subscribers, Wilder, I liked Wilder. I thought he'd be great for American boxing. You can go back and watch the videos. I said that he'd be great for American boxing. I was excited that we had an American heavyweight champion again. And that's why when he started fighting these guys that I deemed as overmatched opponents, and you guys know the names, you know, it really pissed me off. And on top of that, while he was fighting these overmatched guys, you know, he wasn't getting better in my eyes. And I don't know, man. I liked Wilder at first, and then, you know, then he kind of got super arrogant, and then he blocked me on Instagram, and then after that, you know, he just never fought anybody. And you know, I'm not saying Stiverne was a world beater, but you know, Stiverne is still a tough durable heavyweight, a guy that was good enough to at least have a strap at one point. And he went in there and destroyed him. So credit to him. Hopefully Wilder can continue stepping up his opposition and fighting better fighters, because I think that's what all of us fans want to see from him. So that was that. Granados took the L to Porter. Wilder stopped Stiverne. As for the other fights on the card, you know, you had we'll start with some of the untelevised fights. You had the fight with Amanda Serrano and the Hernandez girl. That fight didn't last long. Amanda Serrano decapitated that girl in like 2 minutes 38 seconds. You know, if you guys don't know, Amanda Serrano has been talking about a move to MMA, fighting in the UFC and all that stuff. And I think she'd actually have success with it if she can learn like the kicking and the grappling and all that stuff, because as far as punching goes, she punches way harder than the average woman, and she's no bigger than me. I'm not a big guy, but Amanda Serrano, I mean, she has great fundamentals. I actually think Showtime made a mistake. I thought she should have been fighting on the card instead of Lipinets and Kono. I thought it would have been better, but she went in there against her opponent. You know, I think her opponent had like 10 losses. Former world title challenger. She went in there and she outclassed her from the word go. And you know, when she did that, the way she did it, you know, she just overwhelmed her with body shots, a good jab, cut the distance on her real early, started walking her down. And really, there's not much to talk about. It was just a thorough and utter destruction of her performance from Amanda Serrano. And if she does go to MMA, for those of you who don't follow what's going on in her career and what she's been saying, Amanda Serrano is actually going to be managed by Miesha Tate, the UFC fighter. I don't know if you guys know Miesha Tate. She fought Ronda Rousey, she fought Holly Holmes. Very attractive too, by the way. But Miesha Tate is going to be her manager apparently, and that could bode well for her. I mean, I don't know how much clout Miesha Tate has in the UFC as far as like being from a promotional standpoint, but I know she was a big name because I know her and I don't follow UFC. So that'll be interesting to see how that develops, because Amanda Serrano, she's dominated so much. I mean, I think the only fight for her that she could really get in women's boxing would be like Katie Taylor, because I think Katie Taylor's fighting at like 135 and Amanda just fought this last fight at 130. So maybe if she puts on 5 more pounds, she can go fight a Katie Taylor and they can make a big deal about that. But other than that, she's conquered what, 5 weight classes, 6-time world champion. There ain't really much for her to do in women's boxing. She's done all she could do. So you know, why not go to MMA? If she wants a new challenge, let her go get a new challenge, and let's see if she can become a Holly Holm type of fighter. You know, maybe even do better than Holly Holm. Who knows, man? Amanda Serrano was a great boxer. If she can take the great boxing she has here and transfer that to MMA and add a little MMA stuff into it, You know, I think she can go far. I think, to my opinion, when she retires, when Amanda Serrano retires, I think she's gonna wind up being a legend in women's boxing because she already has that kind of resume, in my opinion. But yeah, so got a first round knockout. That was pretty quick, and then you had I'm trying to think of the other notable fights. Oh, in my opinion, and I know most of you guys didn't see this fight because it wasn't on TV, but I'm gonna tell you a little bit about it. So you had the Chris Colbert Titus Williams fight. If you guys haven't been paying attention, these two guys, Chris Lobiak Colbert, I interviewed earlier this week, or last week I should say, because it's Monday as I'm shooting this. And then Titus Williams. These are two guys that, like, Titus Williams from New York City, good amateur. Chris Colbert from New York, really good amateur. Both undefeated, both early in their careers, both out-handed fighters. They fought each other. There's an interview on ThisIs50.com where they went at it. You know, shout out to ThisIs50.com and the show they have going on there with Barack the Bully. Shout out to Barack the Bully. And Chris Colbert, man, you know, was the younger fighter. Doesn't have the reputation for knocking people out. Doesn't have a whole lot of power like that. But what we saw from Chris Colbert that night, I think you can make the argument, as good as Wilder looked in the one round against Stiverne, it was still against Wilder did it against a guy coming off a damn near 2-year layoff, who really, when he was in his prime, wasn't regarded that highly anyway. Colbert, on the other hand, he was fighting a guy in Williams who had been active, who had was undefeated, you know, older than him, more experienced. You would even be led to believe maybe a little bit more naturally stronger. But what I saw from Chris Colbert that night might have been the most complete performance of the night. He did a great job all night. You know, I thought he established his jab early on. He showed him different looks because Chris Colbert can fight orthodox and he can fight southpaw. So because he can do that, he can show you a lot of different looks. He can fight with his hands down. He's got really good reflexes. He landed some sharp counter punches throughout the course of the fight. And overall, man, I thought it was a very good technical performance from Chris Colbert. You know, he caught Titus Williams. Titus Williams kind of lunged in with a punch. He stepped back and then caught him with a check right hook. Chris Colbert, man, he, in my opinion, had a great performance. Cruised to a pretty good unanimous decision and an 8-round fight for New York bragging rights. You know, there wasn't a whole lot of people in the stadium or in the arena when that fight happened, but when it did happen, a lot of people that were there for them, and there was a good buzz around it. And I thought that fight definitely was one of the best in the card, for sure. So Chris Colbert got a good decision there. You had the other fight on HBO for Showtime for the, what was it, the WBO, I think WBO, something like that, 140-pound title, or WBA, one of the, I can't remember which sanctioning body it was, but it was for one of the Terrence Crawford's vacant titles. You had Sergey Lipinets, undefeated prospect, fighting the veteran Akira Kondo from Japan. Didn't know much about Akira Kondo. I've seen him plenty of times during the media workouts. We actually arrived at Gleason's gym at the same time as him and greeted him. Very nice guy, very good people around him. And as far as that fight, man, it was interesting because, you know, Lipinets has a reputation for being a very slick boxer, a guy that will make you miss on defense, make you pay when he's in good. My bad, the camera kind of cut off. But as I was saying, that's my review of the card. I thought it was a tremendous card, honestly, from top to bottom. You know, we got a lot of good moments in that fight. I thought we got some good performances on the card. And, you know, credit to Ludabella and Al Haymon. I thought they put on a good card here in New York City. And obviously, I would have liked to see my boy get a beat Shawn Porter. That didn't happen, so I think he needs to go back down to 140. Wilder put on a good performance and electrified the crowd really well. And overall, yeah, man, good night of boxing. And that's just my overall thoughts. So you guys can let me know what you think about the fight. You know, for any of you out there, because I do know there were people out there that thought Granados won like 5 or 6 rounds. I couldn't find 5 or 6 rounds for Granados. And I'm his boy. I love Granados to death, but I don't think he won 5 rounds. Let me know what you guys think about that and just the overall card in general. If you were there, let me know what you thought about some of the untelevised fights on the card. And yeah, that's what it is, man. You can love me or you can hate me, but I'm just a kid from Dania. So until next time, take care, guys. I'm gonna make sure that I get better, man. I can't take this New York weather, man. I'm a South Florida boy. It's too damn cold out here.